Welcome to a special edition of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast. Due to a death in the family of one of our podcast members, we are not live today. But since we took last week off for the holiday here in the States, we wanted to offer you something. We didn't want to skip 2 weeks in a row. So we decided to break open the vault of our Postcast. If you have been a regular viewer of this podcast, you will probably have heard us mention our Patreon page. For as little as a couple of dollars a month, you can support this podcast and make sure that it stays on the air. And as a gift back to you, we let you inside of our writing group. Every week, the ladies and I get together virtually and we critique each other's writing. Not like we do here in the podcast, but a full-on deep critique, honest, sometimes a little bit raw with each other, because we have that kind of relationship. We've built that relationship with each other. So we found an episode we thought that might be entertaining to you. You'll notice it's a lot different than our podcast. We are definitely a lot more relaxed. We are definitely a lot less professional, but we also have just as much fun there as we do here on the podcast. And we hope that you have just as much fun watching that as well. If you find that you liked this, we hope that you'll go over to our Patreon page and support us there. Tell your friends. They can view it as well. We would really appreciate your support. We are Christian indie writers, just like you are, trying to keep this podcast alive. If you have any questions or you'd like to comment on it, please comment below, or you can even reach out to us on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram. We're on all of them, and you can generally find me there because I'm avoiding writing most of the time. So until next week, we hope you have a great day, a great week, and a blessed time with your own writing. Bye-bye now.
Welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Postcast, where we shenanigize. What is the like verb word of shenanigan? Like we shenanigan it up.
Shenanigans. Shenanigans.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, fun and games and helpful feedback for our writing pieces is what we want to have here. Today, we have a special treat for everybody, in my opinion, because we have such a wide variety of pieces that were submitted today. And I really thank everybody for joining us and hope that watching us move through these pieces is helpful to you, as it will hopefully be for the people who've submitted them. I have to go to the randomizer, so somebody else talk.
Well...
Jen, you're on.
Are you still wearing your ears, Rhonda?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I took them off.
No.
Yeah. My hair was getting on my nerves, so I had to take them off.
We couldn't see them in the podcast, so I couldn't even comment on them because I couldn't see them.
Oh.
So anybody watching is like, what do you mean you took off your ears? That's kind of a neat trick. Can I learn how?
Yep. You go buy Spock ears, put them on, and hide them.
Yeah, and then yell at your friends that call them elf ears.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a German slang word based on the word shenanigan, or actually the word shenanigan is based on it.
Did you really look it up?
Called shenaglin.
Shenaglin?
Shenaglin.
Shenaglin. You have to.
This is what.
That's the only verb form I could find for shenanigan. So.
That is so weird because that's my middle name.
That is really weird. You're right.
I have no idea.
Shenanigans. Yeah.
How weird that is, Rhonda. You just have no
Should
idea.
I stop eating my pickles? It's fairly rude.
I have
Yeah,
it is.
Look, I got them.
I have Vlasic
Aldi's,
pickles.
they're from Germany, and the Aldi's only gets them once a year. And my husband loves them, so when I bought every jar they had in the store.
Oh, so you're the reason.
Don't give them to him now while he's sick. I ate Mexican food once when I was not well, and then I didn't want Mexican food for a long, long time after that. I was saddish radish.
I am all out of pickles. I do have some pickled green beans, so I just remembered that. I could be chomping on them.
Oh,
Billy
pretty
beans.
soon
Yummy. Here you go.
Jennifer is going to disappear from the
Here you go,
podcast.
Jennifer.
I really, really dislike you, just so you know.
Why do you think I
All
do
right. So random.org put Rhonda first, Tina, then Jamie, then Jen.
That's weird.
So Rhonda gave us a very thorough list of reasons why her piece is terrible is really how it reads to me. So, do you want to go into the isolation booth about this, Rhonda? I think that's a good idea because I think you need to
think
hear
it's probably
us.
a good idea.
All right. Okay. So, we typically send the writer into isolation to where they cannot talk while we discuss their piece, and then we bring them out to address any questions that came up during the critique. Right, ladies?
Yes.
All right. So I know this is a rough piece, and she's, she does not consider it polished, and we'll just go from there. Who wants to speak first? Okay, I will. Okay, the call is for not a normal sort of a story. Okay, the call is for speculative fiction. And so basically, how I described that to my husband is weird on purpose. And I just have to say that this is such a riot. I loved reading this. And I know, I really did like the piece that I sent to them, but I'm like, they likely will not want it because it does not feel ridiculous. And this is so ridiculous in such a really fun way. I really, really like it. And I love that she's kind of doing a hard-boiled thing because when she wrote her hard-boiled Lester Dent stories, I loved that voice. And I love that that voice is making an appearance in this piece. I think she just needs encouragement that it's not terrible and that she should continue and give me something that I can help her, with the edits or something that she's saying is done. That's how I feel about it.
I agree. I think that there's a lot that needs to be fixed on it. There's a lot of polishing, and I didn't mark any of it up or even comment even on the story structure or anything because I know she just kind of was throwing it out there to see if she should do any of that. And I would say yes, absolutely yes. I think I giggled at the whole idea. I think that there's definitely something there. The only meat I had, and I think you guys answered it either in our podcast or in our discussion between the two. I didn't know what a DIC novel was, but I'm thinking she meant DCI now that we had this conversation.
A private dick. So like a hard-boiled detective kind of a book. I think that's what she was referring to.
So DIC?
I'm not sure if that's how you would spell it, but when I read it, that's immediately what I thought of. And I don't know if that's genre specific or what I think because my mind was in this is the kind of a book that I'm reading.
Yes.
I filled in that blank for myself, right?
Okay, right. So I originally thought the detective dick kind of thing as well, but the sentence needs to be structured a little bit better for people that might because even though I thought that, I still tripped up on the fact that it's a dick novel. In today's age. Sorry, I don't know how else to say that. You giggled as I say it out loud, but that's exactly what it says right on here. So just a little bit of restructuring or a little more clarification,
Only because you said it, Jen.
Well, yeah, I know. So anyway,
well, she didn't
you're in the chamber.
So.
Shh.
What? I didn't say nothing.
Oh, goodness. All right.
That was my only meat because she wasn't looking for meat. She was just looking for, do I go forward with this or not? And I would agree with Jamie. I say yes.
All right. Tina, what do you have to say?
Well, I have to say that I've been really tired. So when I first read it, I forgot that this was speculative fiction. So I had to go back.
I can't even imagine. What am I reading?
I thought it was like a detective, a private dick story. And then it kind of got weird. And I was like, this is weird. And I was like, how am I going to tell Rhonda? I just think her story is weird.
How do I say this nicely?
Oh, I can't stop laughing. I have to.
But I thought it was funny, but it was weird.
Oh.
And I was like, it was the next day or something, and I read it again. I was like, oh, that's right. It's supposed to be weird. So then when I read it and went back and read it again, I was like, okay. So it's very creative. I think it's funny. There was something about one of the ideas. When she said a carnival comes to town.
I totally
thought. Me too.
I thought she was going to incorporate the bearded lady and all that in there.
Yep.
So yeah, it was fun, and I want her to finish it because I want to read it when I'm awake and realize what I'm reading.
Well, and
Yeah.
I feel like she's got a whole lot of stuff stuffed into the end in those last paragraphs that might make it a little bit impossible to meet the deadline. So I would encourage her to treat it like a chapter of a longer work, and to not try to write all these 20,000 words, because I think if she explored every idea that she has tacked on to the end there, that she might get herself into trouble with getting it finished in time to submit for this anthology. Now, she may not be like me, who was thinking, where else am I going to send a speculative story about the Beatles? Perhaps she thinks that she could find a different market. But my one big piece of meat would be to just kind of try to focus it so that you can finish and get it polished up in time to send in. So that would be my biggest piece of meat.
Yeah,
And
a
that's
week and a half is not a long time.
And a suggestion could be like, so she's already making this as if this is the real plot, and the subplot was that they were musicians and the real life that we saw. Maybe she could find some sort of real life mystery or something that happened in the 60s, and she could like really show that they were actually the ones that solved it or something, so that she doesn't have to come up with a whole new mystery that she'd have to prove to us or like go through the whole thing. Just kind of something that's like very well known. I mean, I know she can do this. Find something that would be like, the minute you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, I know that, but make it part of the story, speculative as well. So
But
That's
with her,
also,
she might end up spending a week and a half on the research.
yeah. So, like,
She
in
loves
my
it.
opinion, I would love it if she just like opened a button on her desk and pushed it, and the panel slid open, and there was Seymour's plant, and it ate the guy, and that was the whole reason she brought him there in the first place, was just to feed. So I'm saying she set it up to where it could be as ridiculous as she wants it to be, and it can end. You know, you don't have to just look. Here's the thing: I'm writing all of this stuff about Daryl Phillips, who's going to be in our Christmas story. And I know it's not making it into the book, but I'm so happy that I wrote it, because all of his memories and all of that information is in me when I come to the keyboard to write it. So just because she has all of these ideas for what is really going on doesn't mean she has to share them with people, but it will come out as she finishes the story, right? So that's how I feel about it.
all right.
All right. Anything else before we bring her out? Okay, Rhonda.
Okay, the whole Dick story thing, Jennifer, is like a 30s, 40s era common PI thing. And
Right.
then
No,
it
I've
turns into
heard
like
that term
PI
before.
and okay.
No, I've heard the term before. It's the way the sentence is structured
Okay.
that I was kind of like, and then when she said DCI in our
yeah.
podcast, it made me think, oh, maybe it just was a. So yeah, no, I've heard the term before, but
Okay. Now, Jamie, you mentioned make this a chapter of a longer work. Can you just kind of elaborate on that just for a second?
Well, it's more how you're approaching the piece, because goodness, let me actually look at it. So when you write a chapter of a work, in my opinion, you want to kind of try to start with something kind of hooky and end with something kind of hooky. And I just kind of was more saying, as far as in your mind, how long should this be? It was not really so much like make it like a chapter. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that clarify it all for you?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you have a really big vision for this, and I love it. And if you had 2 months instead of 2 weeks, I would say you should write out every idea that you have on this paper.
Mm-hmm. So is there one that you would kind of focus on that you have a...
Well, okay. So how you have this set up is that it's this woman telling the reporter her point of view and everything, right?
Yep.
So she's got him there, and she's supposed to be reporting all of this information, but I feel like it needs to be about her, because we only have her or him really to be invested in for our shattering moment, right?
Okay. Yep.
So I feel like the shattering moment has to be something that happens in this story. Like Jen said, it could either be the big reveal that they killed Jimmy Hoffa and put him wherever, or it can be whatever it is. You have to be able to tell us before the story is over. So it's just basically settling on something and saying it. I'm sorry. So your question was, as far as the ideas that you have, I like the carnival owner's daughter thing. Man, a whole hostage situation. I mean, like, I really would like to see you do all of this, but I don't think it can all fit.
Okay.
maybe yeah. Ugh. The band becomes popular and guys are solving tons of cases. I mean, maybe that sentence could be stretched and filled out into an ending of some kind.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate all that. So, Tina, I'm sorry for the confusion.
Really fun to read.
Okay, good. I don't mind writing ridiculous, but people don't always enjoy reading my ridiculous. So, okay, I have everything I need. Thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate it all.
Awesome. Okay, so you're back as well, Fed?
Oh, yes. Very
Rhonda,
well.
don't give up on this piece. It would be so sad. Like I said, I think, if you put your piece is way more, I think, what they're looking for. I think they'd be very sad if they knew this existed and you didn't sub it. Honestly.
Okay.
Okay,
right.
So Bambina. Here you are, Bambina.
To everybody, I'm sorry that I messed up Tina's page. I didn't know that all that was going to save like that.
Oh, it's not anything I'm looking at it on this silly preview. I'm good. I don't have an issue.
I always go in and take your pieces, all of you, and save as onto my desktop. And then, so I'm actually editing into something separate. So
yeah, I usually do that too, but she mentioned doing yours or Jamie's in here, so I thought I would too. I just didn't know I was doing that.
Gotcha.
Okay. So Tina, I think we should isolation booth you for this, right?
Yeah, probably.
It's not really a discussion that needs to happen. Okay, bye.
Bye.
All righty. Ladies, she wrote this just for us. Just to have something to submit. Isn't that sweet?
Very sweet.
I found it interesting that it echoed what she wrote today. And because, her and I have been talking about fantasy and how I was confused as to why the Inklings, C.S. Lewis's group, existed specifically to promote the writing of fantasy until Tina and I had a discussion about allegory and the power to explain big biblical concepts to people in a way that's easily digestible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, in my brain, I wanted her to mesh the piece that she wrote today with this piece. Not that there's some weird reincarnation thing happening, but just that there's parallel stories because both are about a woman who's in a man's world who's trying to make her name for herself kind of a thing. So I don't know how she could what would her wardrobe be to where the two stories are connected or intertwined. Maybe this is a great grandmother of the person. I don't know. But I just really liked the idea of having a modern day person having these same struggles as this girl in this story. So
interesting.
Anyway, I don't know how to give meat because this is just kind of a is this storyline worth pursuing? I guess I would say yes. I did run into a little bit of confusion because they're thinking that they're looking for a man, but she is saying, I don't know why they don't just come to my house to arrest me. Well, because they don't know it's her.
Right.
So that was a confusing piece for me. But again, I knew that this was just kind of an off the cuff thing. So maybe it would get addressed later. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I had difficulty taking this piece because I knew it was more or less a quick write, a sprint in which we normally only give positive, encouraging feedback. So I mean, the few things I found were he says at one point, these are things that if this weren't a quick write, she would catch them and fix. Where it says here, sorry, I'm having trouble. Right there. All knowledge of his son's treachery or his daughter's S' whereabouts. So I'm there's more than one daughter. So then there's confusion as to what characters are at play. And then later on, they're only after her. And why are they after her? There's just so much going on because it's a quick write, right? So it's kind of hard to give any feedback because she didn't really say what she's looking for except for general feedback. So I guess if I'm giving general feedback, that yes, it was interesting writing, but very vague, needs a lot of work. Some give us more details because we really don't understand what's going on. So that made it difficult for me to read.
Yeah, and
But-
frankly, I would say it's not a finished piece. Like it
No.
does need to be, as far as, beginning, middle, and end and stuff like that, it needs to be buttoned down.
Yeah, do you think that she was asked? See, that's what, again, like that's why I don't know what kind of feedback to give her. What was she wondering if it was a finished fee? We don't have enough information from her.
Can we bring her out and ask? Because I've got some comments on it, and I'd like to know if I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, it's not finished. Is that your question?
All right, do you want to finish it? I mean, how do you want us to critique it?
Yeah, I guess, would you want me to continue it? It's good to know that you found that whole part confusing, because she's confused because they're after her, and they use this whole subterfuge to get her brothers and father out of the way to get her. And part of her journey is to find out why, like what's going on.
I did not get that, even though you used the word subterfuge, I did not get that clear enough that they did the whole thing to get her brother and her father out of the way.
Okay. So I'll probably just have to expand that conversation.
All right, back in isolation.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, like I would like to see her continue this, and I know what it's like to have so many ideas and which one do you go with. And I mean, I know she's got like the Civil War romance thing percolating. I know she's struggling with like, but I'm supposed to have Lost be like a series, so what should I do and where should I focus my energy? And I guess my advice for her would just be to write the thing that doesn't leave her alone. And I know it's been a while since she walked away from the Civil War thing, but when she had to write something to send to us, she did not write in that story. So the thing I think that keeps coming back to her is where she should focus, because I think that that's maybe a big question that she's going to have for us. Because if my father-in-law was a caregiver for his dad for so long that when Grandpa finally passed away, it was like, what do I do to fill all of that time and care and energy that I've invested in this person? And I think as Tina reaches the end of her journey with Angelica, she's going to be trying to figure out where should she focus her attention. And only because we're talking about the Inklings and stuff, I would want to shove her in like this direction, because I think that she would do amazing with allegory. I love the whole thing she did about fairies and wizards last week. And I think that she could really shine there. And, she talks about Tolkien a lot. So anyway, if she were going to ask me, I'd shove her in this direction. I don't know how the rest of you feel.
Yeah, my thoughts were kind of similar in the fact that when she said she had to write something to submit, I thought back to, well, what happened to your nano project? Like, why didn't you go pull something up and polish that? Because that's an existing thing that we could, like, I felt like I couldn't give feedback on this. And I'm not sure that she really cared. Like, she just felt like she had to submit something is kind of what she said. But she could have submitted something from there, polish it up probably in less time than it took her to do this and polish it, that we could have actually given her like real feedback to that could help further her career. Like, get that book, even if she doesn't go back to it for 3 more months, at least you've got one chapter you've gotten feedback from us on. So I was confused as why she did that. So.
Yeah, I wonder if just that story isn't calling to her. That's a good question for her to answer when she comes out.
Well, Esther is not calling to me right now, and neither is Phoebe, but I got my butt in the chair, and I am listening. I am going to call to them.
Yeah, but you have a goal to release a series of 3 books. So your track is very much laid out for you, and she's not in that situation. So I'm sure it's really hard for her to decide, but it's a really good question. Why not that? Do you have other feedback?
And why not what you said? Why not the Civil War one?
Yeah, or even remember the detective with the boy who was being kept under the stairs?
Yeah. Yep.
No, I don't like that one. I mean, it was a good story, but I don't want to know more about it. I've learned enough.
All right. So any more feedback on this piece, Rhonda?
Yeah, I haven't even given my feedback yet.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So based on everything that has transpired here in the last couple of minutes, I am going to give feedback based on me liking the story and the genre and thinking that it could go in a good direction, and someday she'll get back to this. And these are just suggestions. I know it's not completely edited, so don't think that I think that you don't know this stuff, but I'm just giving my suggestions. All right. So Lord should be not capitalized unless you're saying like Lord Byron or using it as part of a proper noun. Okay, some of the words or sentences were a little wordy, so I just kind of reworded them a little bit for clarification for my purposes. So take them or leave them. This is my feedback. All right. So for instance, she wrote blood from the cut on her arm made by a royal soldier's sword soaked the sleeve of her tunic. I changed it to a royal soldier left a gash in her arm, and now the sleeve of her tunic was soaked with her own blood. What I was trying to do with that, whether you like it or not, I was trying to speed up the pace a little bit because with all the commas, you pause every time there's a comma. And so I just did that a couple times. I'll give you one more example. It was bad enough she fled the battle. It was the act of a coward, one she knew she wouldn't soon live down. On top of that, she didn't know which direction the others had gone or if they were even still alive. That's what you wrote. My suggestion was the cowardice she showed by fleeing the battle was unforgivable and made worse by not knowing if the others were still alive. So that reduced about, 15 words out of what you'd written, but I think it sped it up too. And not that you just write it your own way, but trying to give you examples of speeding the pace up a little bit. I had a couple questions. What does the Lord look like? You've got dialogue, but there's no description. So what does the Lord look like? Is he an imposing fixture? Is he Weasley? Does he strike fear into his flunkies? Do his flunkies laugh at him behind his back? I don't know what to think about this guy yet. And then the owl looked down at her with a disapproving glare. I'm not sure what a disapproving glare looks like, so why don't you tell me what it looks like? And that's everything. So you can take them or leave them, but I would like to see you go on with the story.
Oh, and I want there to be more owl.
Oh, yeah.
I totally saw promise in the owl. Like this owl is a pet or a companion or,
Yep.
I mean, does he speak? Is he enchanted? Does he ever get to speak? Like Balaam's ass got to speak?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I would just love for this owl to be so anyway, I'm with you, Rhonda. Like I love this sort of a thing and the promise that it holds, right? And so, yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so should we let her out?
Yep.
Come on out, Bambina.
Okay, thanks guys for the feedback. Rhonda, I knew those sentences were clunky,
mm-hmm.
but I had uploaded my piece so many times because I went back and changed things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was afraid you guys were getting like blown up with messages like Tina just submitted a new piece to Dropbox. So I just decided that I was going to stop and see like what you guys thought about the idea. So, but thanks for the ideas.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, so now address our big complaint. Like we could have gotten a piece from you that we would have felt we were being more helpful. As far as that's how Jen and I felt, if we had some context and something that was, So talk about that.
Yeah, I guess I just felt like when I thought about polishing up either something from either one, like the detective story with the little boy, I think you guys have already seen everything that I've written on that one, and I haven't written anything else. And the nano one, just I'm not sure what I want to do with that.
What do you mean?
Like I'm not sure I'm feeling it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not sure if I even want to go back to that and polish it up or not. I haven't made up my mind yet. So,
well, what do you think about Jamie's critique that when you are having to write something new, that you're not choosing to write something new? It's a project you've already started. What do you think about what's going on in your headspace with that?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So like you have your Civil War story, right? Like there's no piece calling to you, work on me. I mean, because you know what I'm saying?
Really. And I think part of it is because of my health issues that are going on right now. I'm just so tired and my brain feels like it's in a fog. And I'm just hopeful that after I get my CPAP machine, that fog is going to go away and I'm going to be able to, I can't really concentrate on anything right now. And it's just driving me buggy. And I'm afraid that I'm going to look back at the editing I've done during this time and I'm going to go, you know?
Well, you likely will anyway, to be honest. That's just what happens. You take some time away from a piece, and it's just like what you submitted today. Oh, I could have fixed that. Oh, I could have fixed that. So, but yeah, I hear you. I mean, if you have health complications and you're barely staying awake long enough to do what you're doing, I get it that doing something new might seem a little bit tricky.
Right.
But you are going to have to eventually fill the hole that's going to be left when you say goodbye to Lost. And do you have any strong feelings about what direction you might go?
No. I just know that it makes sense to write the next Lost. That's what makes sense for my career. Because people are going to read Lost and possibly want to read the next story. So,
well, I think that's something that Jamie had said earlier is actually like probably pretty profound for all of us in that when she writes something, when we do the quick writes or whatever, and it's inside of Daryl's head or it's about Daryl's life, even if she's not going to use it, that she now has that in her, like as she's writing things that she is going to use. And I guess maybe I would try to encourage you, if you're not feeling strongly about anything, I would encourage you that these quick writes, at least for this next week, try this out. When we do our sprints, choose one of your existing projects, even if you hate the project, even if you think you're never going to go back to it, choose one of the projects and write the sprint within that story, within the people, something, because it may just be that you're just too far away from it, or maybe that you're just not letting that project have any more creativity. You feel like it's just gone stale, and try to like breathe some life into it and see what happens. And if it doesn't get any life breathed into it, then maybe you're right. Maybe it isn't going to work for you, but I wouldn't give up without trying, without at least trying to give it another shot, any of them.
yeah.
Because you put so much into all the ones we just mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, are we going to be able to do Postcast? Probably not for next week. So Tina will get a week or so of, when do you get your machine, Tina?
Hopefully this week.
Great. So then maybe by the next Postcast that we have, you'll be feeling like a brand new Bambina, and you'll feel inspired to actually do something. And another thing to address, so she was gonna submit the Christmas stuff for a critique.
That's what really happened is I was working on the Christmas story, and I had this, like the first third of it done and all polished up, and that's what I was going to submit. And then I realized I couldn't because we agreed not to share that. And so that was like my brain fog making me forget that I couldn't submit. So all the work that I'd done up until yesterday afternoon, like it was after we logged off from office hours and I pulled it up to get it ready to submit to you guys, that I realized I couldn't use it. So
yeah, so it wasn't just like you waited until Wednesday and then decide to rip something out to so the
so you have the first third of your story polished already? Is that what you said?
Well, not completely polished, but enough. Like I just wanted to get some critique on where it was headed, and if it was too dark for a Christmas story. Because it's like it's a ex-Marine dealing with all the feelings that have been triggered by this young kid dying. So I don't want it to be too depressing. So
me either.
That's what I was going to submit, and it wasn't completely polished, but enough so it wasn't a mess. So then at the last minute I had to come up with something. So that's what happened.
So what do you have so we know you have the Civil War thing that you started, and we know that you have the detective thing, and then we know that you have the nano piece. What else have you got percolating or hanging around or in the wings?
Nothing really. I mean, I guess I really feel like I need to put my creative energy into the next Lost story. But I don't feel ready to start that yet. And so I feel like I'm doing some experimenting with like the fantasy stuff, just to keep my brain glowing and to, improve. The more you write, the better you get at it. So
All right. Well, I would then recommend that once you're feeling like you can, like Jennifer said, using the sprints to kind of explore characters or whatever, another option would be to decide I'm going to write and polish something and it's a done, finished story. And then if the opportunity comes up that I could submit it somewhere to get paid for writing it, because then you have like a goal for the week, right? I'm going to have a written, polished, finished, blah, blah, blah. Now, maybe the tricky part is this Christmas compilation that can't be our postcast, right? So we're actually kind of doing double work. If we're creating new work and we're creating this Christmas compilation, like it can feel a little bit much, but I don't think it's beyond your doableness when you are healthy, because you have a lot of time and commitment to your writing and you're just not having the energy right now. So I think that this is going to sound like, oh, I could never write now to you, but once you're rested, you might be able to do these things, right?
It's a little overwhelming right now to think about editing my book, working on the Christmas thing, and working on something else that I could submit for Postcast.
I just really feel like you think that's overwhelming because of the physical condition you're in.
Oh,
right
yeah,
now.
I know it is.
And and so again, something that just so that you get to the end, because every little bit that you start that could turn into a novel can feel, what am I doing? I'm starting another whole big giant thing. And so that's why I'm saying if you frame it in the context of it only needs to be a short story, then you can put it away and not feel like it's something unfinished out there in the universe that's floating around. When am I ever going to go back to it? You know what I mean? It feels better for me.
Yeah, that you're probably right.
All right. But anyway, you're going to get your machine and we're praying for you to feel better. I hope everybody who's watching also will pray for Tina to just be feeling more her old self.
Thank you.
All right. I've been talking a lot. Anybody else? I guess I knew my time in the isolation chamber was coming, so I had to get it all out while I could. All right. So, bye.
All right.
Wait, what?
Give us instruction.
Oh, I thought I put it in the...
Yeah, but people that are watching this may not know. So.
Okay, so essentially it's the first half of a short that is finished, and I, to this point, have considered it more or less done, but I know there's probably typos and stuff like that, and I just want to know what you think of it, because I was playing around with voice and things like that. So, general feedback, and if you caught my typos, which I saw that Penny was not capitalized when I went back to it, so that kind of thing makes me crazy. But anyway, I'll say it before you do. Penny is not capitalized in the first paragraph. Fine. Okay, bye.
Okay, I wish I would have known this was the first half, because that would have, I would not have had the major meat that I had. So she can pretty much ignore what I wrote at the end, because I didn't know that. She didn't say that or state that, so I thought this was the whole piece. So, but I love this narrator. I want to give her a hug and play grenades with this little girl. I really love that piece. So ignore all the suggestions I made about how to make this a complete piece, because clearly it's not complete. Other than that, it's just a few grammatical things that really I've marked them up just so that she, that she can take a look at it. Other than that, I love this piece. I love how she takes something like a shocking opening statement. That's my biggest piece of bread. I love that her shattering moment starts the story. There's different ways of having your shattering moment. Usually I think it's towards the end, and I think having a shattering moment at the very beginning is difficult to do, and Jamie did a great job with this piece. So that's my favorite. That's my hugest piece of bread, a big, thick Texas toast piece of bread right there.
Yeah, and I think having the shattering moment at the beginning is definitely something that happens more often in short stories. Because with a novel, you don't really have your shattering.
Well, you don't really have a shattering moment. When I say shattering moment, I'm talking about the short story format. So
okay, I've seen quite a few that do that. But I really like it when they do that. And I really was chuckling at the end when I found out Grandma really isn't an axe murderer. She was just butchering the chicken for dinner.
Yeah. Which really could be another shattering moment, don't you think?
Yeah, it was great. And I had some comments in here. I I want to know what's going on between this grandmother and this girl that she like has such a horrible opinion of her.
Yeah.
Like she blames her for upsetting the other little girl, and it was the grandmother with the axe chopping off the chicken's head that was what upset her. And so like twice she's like, you did something, what did you do? And she spits venom, like she used those words. She spit venom. And so like I have all these questions about what's the deal between this girl and the grandma, and why is this girl so obsessed? Is it just like a age thing? I know there's certain ages that kids get obsessed with death and violence a little bit, or is there something that happened in her life that caused it? And so all these comments that I have are just me being interested in the story and wanting to know the characters and wanting to know more, and the things that popped into my head as I was reading it. So
one of the lines that stuck out to me was in the very first paragraph. I thought Granny smelled funny, like peppery lunch meat gone bad. First of all, great line. But then I thought, my memories of my grandmother are not any of the negative things, so what has happened in this relationship, kind of like what you were saying, Tina, to where there's a negative feeling between that she feels towards her grandmother too. And obviously that was before we saw the grandmother treating her poorly, we saw that and it made me go, wow, so. What about you, Rhonda?
Yeah. Well, she used a capitalized penny. I don't know if she knows that or not. Okay. I put a lot of comments down for, like spelling grammar things and all that, and some comments about what was actually happening in the story, because I know everybody likes a reaction. So I try to put that in as it's happening. One thing that I really liked, along with things that you guys also said, but at the very end where the grandma says, well, I suppose we'll have to trust God to take care of punishing you. And the granddaughter, I want to know if she's saying like, okay, or she's saying, okay. I would like to hear that from the author, because, either way, it could be very telling about the character. Okay, so what else do I want to comment on? It was sad. I thought there was a reaction that when she asked God why she was a freak.
I know, I marked that up too. So
yeah. Sad. I wondered if axe murdering was genetic when she was talking about telling her cousin about the razor sharp beaks and all that. What else? I was wondering if Penny was starting to get panicked, and if she was, maybe she could show that just a little bit more. Penny was when Penny was watching the grandma, how did that feel to her? Because I didn't really get emotion from her, or was that what I was supposed to get? Is she going to become an axe murderer because she has no emotion watching this chicken getting its head chopped off?
Right, that's kind of the feeling I got, was that she didn't have any like she's so desensitized to it, possibly because of what has happened in her past. So like, that's funny that we both read it differently. I read it that like, oh yeah, this poor kid has no emotions, and you read it like, where are her emotions? So
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, because her parents are gambling on Easter instead of spending it with her, so that could be part of her background. Let's see, why did I write that? Just some more parts where I laughed. I was able to laugh through this, but also feel other emotions too. So it was a nice combination for me. Let's see. She had one sentence that was pretty long. It was 53 sentences, or 53 words. And so I just put a suggestion in here for shortening it up a little bit and speeding the pace up a little bit. That's been my pet project lately, is speeding up the pace with shorter sentences. So anyway, that's really all I have to say.
All right, shall we let her out?
Yeah, I can't wait to find out what the end is.
All right, J.R. Nichols. You're muted, J.R. Nichols. Maybe we prefer it that way.
Yeah.
She's laughing. What did she say?
I am so sorry that I did not tell you that this was not like the end. I feel so bad because that was a major faux pas. Sorry about that. I was just trying to, well, first of all, I was still in fixing the end, and so it wasn't really ready, but also I don't like to send a big giant hunk. So I just was trying to, but I'm sorry that I didn't tell you that, because what a dismal ending because so much more happens. Okay, not really. But I don't know if there were questions. Oh, okay. So yes, there's questions about the girl and there's questions about, and I sort of like am happy to report I don't think that you'll get answers. And my favorite short stories don't necessarily tell me everything, and they aggravate me for the rest of my life because I want to know what I wish that I knew, or I'm left to fill in the blanks or something. And so I'm so happy to hear that you guys are like, well, why is this little girl the way she is? And why is her relationship with her grandmother the way that it is? And so I don't know if after reading through the end, any of your questions would be answered. So I would just like to know, how does that make you feel?
I agree with you. Those are my favorite too, because really in real life, you're reading people's stories and you're coming to your own conclusions.
Right. As long as we have enough information so that we can come up with our own conclusions, whether my conclusions are the same as Tina's or as Rhonda's, that's fine as long as we're given enough to be able to get that point and not feel just like not satisfied with the end.
Yeah, so I would like to know, how much more do you need to know about this girl's relationship with her grandmother? Because and let me say why. Because I was trying to set up the scene of like, well, obviously Penny is more like Grandma. Obviously Penny and Grandma have more stuff in common. And to me, it just seemed like, well, Grandma's just not going to like her as much because they're not similar. And that was all that I was going to give you. I was not going to go into like, well, she's the child of the like, black sheep son. And so she's not like, do you know what I mean? So I just need to know if you would want more, or if
Well, I'll tell you, your explanation right there, that tells me everything I need to know. Right. Because people reacted to the children that are more like them differently than to the ones that are different from them. And so that's all I need to know. But I didn't read that in the story.
I think there'd be this woman is so mean to her. It'd have to be more than the fact that they're not alike. Like, is she biracial and that's why the woman treats her, because the woman is racist? Is it because she's the child of the black sheep? Is it because I don't know. Like but again, it's your story, and I don't feel like I can answer that until I read the rest of it and then say whether or not I'm satisfied or not, because there's so many different ways you could go with this, and you might go with it and not tell me anything more, but I could be completely satisfied and have enough. So I hate to answer that at this point.
It's interesting, and really that's the kind of conversation that I think is like interesting to have, because I don't know that this piece will ever find a home somewhere. I don't know that it will, because it's more of kind of like a literary piece. There's no real like genre that it fits in, but I'm still wanting to finish it and polish it and have it be a complete piece, and then see what the discussion is like about it. Do you have anything to say about that, Tina?
I don't. If you chose not to give us answer those questions, I think it would be fine. Because
you think it would be fine that the grandma is just mean to this girl without explanation?
Right. We would have to come up with our own inference about that. I mean, I think it's just author's choice. Do you want us to know, or do you want us to be wondering? And maybe the piece would be more impactful if you left us wondering. I mean, it just depends on what you want to accomplish with it. I would be happy either way, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay. I'm so thankful that you guys are willing to just talk about this stuff. Rhonda, where I have my big long sentence, is it a scene where like people are running around and there needs to be more urgency in the scene?
Let's see. It's on page 3. I'm looking for the actual sentence.
Okay, and also, like, the chickens are now in an episode of Dynasty. Did you notice? Isn't that funny? And I just, when I came back to this, I did not remember that I had written that the girl is like.
Okay, well, that's part of it. Okay, so it starts in that paragraph. It says, I chanted her name over and over again in my mind as she battled a larger chicken for the divided head. No longer belonging to one of the anonymous flock, but was, in fact, that of Kai's former best friend, Trixie, whom I decided had actually stolen away the affections of Kai's rooster husband, Chevy. Okay, so that was what I suggested was, Internally, I chanted her name as she battled a larger chicken for the disembodied head. This clucker was no longer just a face in the crowd. In fact, everyone knew her as Kai's former best friend, Trixie, who recently began enjoying the affections of Kai's So, anyway, are you able to see the comments that I made here in Dropbox?
Not on what I'm looking at right now. I probably would have to open up like my word processing thingamabob because I was not peeking. I was being a good girl.
Oh, you're good.
All right. Awesome. All right. So anyway, I really appreciate the feedback, you guys.
Any other questions for us, or?
No, my back is very well fed. I really just enjoyed talking about the piece. Did you guys like the drama about the chicken head?
I did.
It's
that was
fun.
my favorite
Yes.
part of it.
Does that really happen?
Which
Well,
part?
I don't know.
Yes.
It happened to her.
Yes,
Oh.
they do.
They'll eat anything, won't they? That's what I was going off of.
Them and pigs both.
Ugh.
Yep. You hear about
Yeah.
the Mayo?
They'll just eat whatever. They're dumb. Okay. All right. So I really, really appreciate it, guys. Thank you for all of your time and attention on that. Great. All right. So last but not least, dun, 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 whatever is going to be your theme song with the whip cracking. We are heading to the Widows of the West.
Dun, dun. I always hear the big valley in my head when you start singing the same theme song.
Dun.
So again, we're with the Widows. I want to get away from sharing the Widows because I feel like it's just so raw that it's like hard to give feedback on something that it's like that I've not spent a whole lot of time like developing, right? This is a lot of sprinty kind of stuff. But like Tina, because I'm editing so much, I was struggling to find something to submit. So I did go back in and I cleaned this up. It was a lot worse than what you see right here. So I know it's not perfect, but I guess just moving forward a little bit in the story and giving you a little bit more. I felt like it was a little repetitive of what I shared, so I tried fixing that. But anywho, again, we get to see a little bit of Chappie and right? Is this piece? Yeah. So anyway, I guess just general feedback. That's it.
All right.
She's in isolation, right?
Yeah, she's dancing. And
I don't see her muted.
Oh, well, because I can control myself, except for right now.
Okay. All right. We'll see. All right. I'm going to go first. I hope nobody minds. All right. Jennifer, let me know if you can't see the comments that I made in the Dropbox piece when you're done, and I'll send them to. There aren't very many comments, though, because I know you weren't done editing and you were yelling at us about give me words for these things and blah, blah, blah. So I had a couple questions developmentally. And really don't mean much. And I'm sure that when you clarify in the editing, you won't even need my comments. So at the beginning, you talked about him crossing the line. The way it was worded, I wasn't sure if he crossed a metaphorical line or actually crossed some sort of a boundary line. So that would change how I read probably the beginning of it if I knew that. When you asked about the three-piece suit, I sent you a link to a website that talks about like every garment that men wore around the Civil War era. So if you don't get these comments, let me know and I'll send it to you. Okay, you mentioned the court and it not being in session very long. There were traveling judges and justices of the peace back in those days. So you may or may not need that information for your storyline. So anyway, just do a little research on that and see if that's something you need, if you need any more information about that. Okay, I beg of you and every person on this planet, please do not use the word untruth. That is a made-up word to dull the pain of a lie. So that's my soapbox, and I'm now stepping off. All right. My favorite.
I'm going to argue in favor of using it if the person is not truthful with themselves. I mean, it's a character to use it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
True. You're right. My last. Oh no, I got two more comments. Hand on the sidearm. I love that. I was like, whoa, this can't be the end. It was like, I don't know, the shattering moment of the scene, possibly. I don't know, But for him to be so, oh, she's so pretty, and then for him to react just like a cowboy, I was like, oh, give me more. I want to know more. That was great. Okay, now I had to laugh because, like I said, I know this isn't edited, and I know that this isn't a problem you have, but you use the word had 53 times in this, and the word that 44 times. So you might want to, well, I'm sure you're going to edit those out anyway. So,
Well, let's have that conversation because as I'm editing for her, I find myself erasing like every that she has put. And then I noticed that she sent me back a piece and she had added a that. So I went to look up when is it appropriate to use it and blah, 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 blah. And you're going to get different opinions, just like some things that are like writer's choice. But it seems to be that the general pervasive thought is if you can take the that out, you should.
Yep.
If it has to stay, then it stays. But that in general, you want to have as few as possible, right? Is that the thing?
Yep.
I just think it's important to sit there for a second because someone who's watching might not have any idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's the thing about had? What are you talking about with had?
Well, because it's passive. And she used, say like, Jamie had an opinion or whatever it was. There are ways to avoid that.
So if you see that, then maybe just examine the sentence and see if you would rather make a different choice.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. Awesome. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, that's fine. There was a little bit of passive, but I know that she was just trying to get her thoughts down. So
yes, and let's sit on that point for a moment also, because sometimes I'm irritated when people flag my passive voice, and I'm like, I like my passive voice, and it's going to stay. No, I'm not saying you. I'm saying just in general, right? Like sometimes you want to use the passive voice but you would more want to sprinkle it like pepper as opposed to like pour it in like garlic or whatever, right? Because who could say no to more garlic?
Yeah. For instance, specifically, Mrs. McGuire's circumstances had changed. That's a use of had. That's not passive voice.
Right. Well, I heard if you want to know if it's passive voice, if you can add by zombies on the end.
Oh, yeah.
She had her garden plucked by zombies, like whatever. I don't know. Yeah. Plucked? I don't know who plucks a garden. Do you pluck your garden? Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Maybe I'll start. I don't know.
I totally interrupted you.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm so excited to read this story, and I hope she doesn't stop submitting it because I really like it.
All right, Tina, I will let you talk because I feel like now I'm blah, blah, blah.
Well, I don't feel like I have much to say after Rhonda got done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm just messing.
I'll just eat my pickle.
Like I noticed the hads too. Like I can't find it now. I have all these little sticky notes on here, and there was one place where she had used had twice in the same sentence. So yeah, there's a little bit of that. But since since it's kind of a rough piece, I'm sure she would figure that out herself. But I like the piece and I like where it's going, and a little bit of a pet peeve of mine when men think that they're gonna tell you like, well, I'll be back anyway. So I was really like, well, who are you? And so I was really happy when she like used the shotgun, and like I was nice today, but I might not be next week. I was like, you go, girl, because, like, who is he? If you tell him to get off your land, what right does he have to come back? So,
it's Cade.
I don't care.
Yeah, and, go ahead. Are you done? Are you still talking? Like, I don't want to be bowling you over.
Yeah, I think I'm done.
I mean, yeah, because I totally just was like, I'm just going to read this. And I did not... I was intentionally not critical or edity minded and just had really a lot of fun reading it. So I'm totally with Rhonda of like, please finish this book. Please make this something that's a complete whole story. I like her. I like him. I like, these side characters. It's just really going to be a fun book and I'm excited about it. But it also is going to be a book that is educational and hard. She has hard things happening to her. So it's not often that you laugh, you cry, you dance in the aisles, and it seems like that's the direction that this is heading. So more, please, and I'll I'll give it an edit when it's time for that also. So yeah, that's it. Anyone else? All right, Jennifer, come out.
Thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciate that. The line is a physical line. I never really thought about it being a metaphorical line, but it kind of is as well. You know, like he drew a line that he was not going to go over there because of, you know, the feelings, you know. As far as the courthouses and like that, I did the research, Rhonda, and for this area of Texas that I am writing about, that is exactly what, in this time period, right after the Civil War, that's how it would have been. It was very wild. There wasn't the traveling judges yet.
Okay.
At this point, but you're right. It would give it 10 more years, and it's like because so many people were coming in after the Civil War, and the people who were there that went off to fight the war, some died and didn't come back, and others like this, they just couldn't make the ranches work, and so there were a lot of abandoned ranches that the government were then selling to new people coming in trying to. So this is that time period with a lot of greenhorns coming in, not really knowing what they're doing.
These were some tough people. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But you'll find that Cade comes from a ranching family. So that's why he's successful, is because he knew what to expect and he knows what to do. And where Colleen's husband clearly was not meant to be doing this, but you'll learn all that later.
Get rich quick guy.
Yeah. And the head and that are crutches of mine. I know they are, just like me also saying, she said, comma, wisping, or like the comma and then another action. I do that so much that you guys don't see, because then I go back and edit and I find all of them like, ugh, and I fix them, you know? So like, I know that this is ugly right now, and I appreciate you guys reading even the ugly stuff and not hating me. So yeah, I know it's a crutch and I gotta fix it. But again, this is why I don't want to keep submitting from this story, because it's just too rough. I feel like it's not fair to you guys to have to read it. So, but I appreciate all that feedback. I really do. And I love that you guys love these characters and you don't even really know them yet. There's just so much more. So,
give us some author's comment on the last paragraph.
On the last paragraph? Oh yeah. This is so lots of times a story for me will come from a scene, and then I'm like, oh, so what kind of character would do that? So I had this in my head, this little bit of a woman, you know, aiming her gun at the ground of this big hulking man and letting him know she's not going to be pushed around. And I like that woman. Like, I think she's awesome. So like, okay, so who is this woman? So then that's how this story. So I think that actually, no, my very first scene for this story that made me like, I got to write this woman's story was the crying, after the wake, the crying, and then looking in the mirror and thanking the Lord that her husband was dead. I'm like, who is this lady? What's her story? So this was the second one. Yeah. So.
All right. So going forward, what are you going to do for the postcast? I mean, you seem to be in the same boat that Tina's in. What can you do? Like, what will be your strategy?
Well, there's a lot of Esther that you guys haven't seen. Jamie has, but Jamie had suggested I could pull some Esther stuff out that Jamie has edited and get even deeper critique from you guys. I could still go back to Sarah and Grant. There's a lot you haven't seen of Sarah and Grant.
Yeah.
There's gosh, we could also revisit the Duke's proposal, which is still out there languishing, that I need to. So I've got plenty. It just would be getting in a different headspace.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. And that's why I was saying with Tina, because if you're going Civil War, you probably should stop writing
fantasy.
Right. That's kind of, I guess, where I was trying to nail her down or whatever.
And so maybe I should really stick with Sarah, because if I'm right now editing Love and Lansing, then maybe I should also be writing Love and Lansing. I don't know.
Well, there you go.
That's
maybe stumble across the answer. Yeah.
If you think you could stomach some more Grant, Rhonda, you can handle that.
I'll do what I can.
Oh man.
We sacrifice because we love you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. But I appreciate it, ladies. Thank you very much.
Well, and that all you audience people should know that you're getting sneak peeks into works that have not yet been published. So you will have a first look at these amazing characters and these great stories. So spread the word to your friends that for only $2 a month, they can have the same awesome experience and time to hang out with us. So anything else today, ladies, or we're going to call it a day?
I'm good.
All right. All right. So long from the Postcast, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on this special edition of the Postcast. And we appreciate you understanding that for us, our family comes first. And one of our members needed to be with family this week. So we appreciate you understanding that. Hope you enjoyed that little snippet of our Postcast and what it has to offer. Next week, we'll be back. As usual, it will be release day for... That was a moth. It will be release day for my second book, Avoiding Esther. So I'm sure we'll be talking about that. I'm very excited about that. So can't wait. So until next week, may your pen be prolific, may your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ. Bye-bye.